Good morning. We begin with a debate in what is said to be one of the hottest state house races in North Texas. We're talking about House District 115, the northwestern part of Dallas County, DFW Airport, Carrollton, Farmers Branch, Las Colinas, and part of Addison as well.
Matt, you developed a reputation based on the end of the session last year where there was a fracas on the House floor. There was some shoving. You called ICE on some people who were in the Capitol that you believe might not be in the country legally, and then you showed other people that you had called ICE and bragged about it, and it resulted in people rushing the desk and coming to your desk. But how do you feel about this reputation as a hothead from that incident?
I completely disagree with your characterization of the incident.
That was the way it was factually published and the way you described it on talk shows.
No, it absolutely was not. I was attacked and threatened on the House floor after that happened when I was with my pregnant wife on the House floor. The initial articles tried to portray it as my fault and published 100% lies about the incident, which were later disproven. And as far as the calling ICE, we had a mob descend on the Capitol that day. They were shutting down the House chamber, holding signs saying they were illegal, and they were resisting police officers.
There were no pictures showing any signs in the Capitol saying anyone was illegal.
Oh, there absolutely was, and I can show them to you.
There were none in the House chamber.
You are absolutely 100% incorrect.
But this is based on your own description. Now, according to your own description, you told another member of the House, "I'm armed and I will defend myself." Is that what you said?
When I was threatened, when I was with my 5-month pregnant wife, threatened and assaulted on the House floor, yes.
And what were you armed with? What were you? Did you have a pistol? Or you wearing a pistol that day?
I think that's inconsequential.
Matt,
I think it's inconsequential. I was a victim of a mob that we see now time and time again as Republicans get attacked, get accosted in coffee houses and in restaurants. It's a product of the toxic political climate we see today because people are vilifying Republicans. They're intent when they file bills. For example, my opponent on her website forecloses working with any Republican member of the legislature because she labels every single Republican legislator a racist for voting for the sanctuary city bill.
That is absolutely not true. And the problem
you could look at your website.
The problem is that your conduct on the last day of the session was reprehensible. And that is one of the reasons why I have so much support within this district, because they do not identify with the hostility that he brought to this office. He engaged in racial profiling of a bunch of kids who were protesting a bill that they did not agree with, exercising their constitutional rights to protest. And you didn't like it because they disagreed with you. And with respect to Republicans, I have a lot of support and endorsements from a lot of Republicans, including the Republican mayor of Coppell, including the Republican who held this seat before you.
Well, let's talk about that.
No. Let me respond to a very serious allegation. Okay, that is 100% false, and I think it's disgusting that you talk about hostility. I was attacked and threatened on the House floor.
You
did not do anything. I did not initiate it.
You were proudly.
Can I respond?
The video shows.
Can I respond?
Matt, the video.
Could I respond to my opponents, Bud and Julie?
Go ahead, Matt.
I do want to point out the video shows you made a call.
Go ahead.
Can I respond
to this? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I was attacked and threatened on the House floor, and afterwards, because of the mischaracterization of that incident, my family received death threats and was under police DPS protection for several weeks. And the fact you would make the lie that I initiated it the centerpiece to your 100% negative campaign, I think is disgusting and what's wrong with politics.
Let me ask you about that, because
true.
that's let me ask about that. The reporting that happened that day suggests that you went over and talked to Representative Romero and Navarez, telling them that you called ICE on the people in the gallery upstairs. Why even go over there and tell them that? Why not just make a phone call and stay at your desk and wait for something to happen?
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is there was a mob that descended on the Capitol during Family Day when we were there with our kids and wives.
But did you need to go over to your colleagues and say something, Matt?
Yes, because they were inciting the mob.
Tonight, 3 weeks to the election.
There are two different visions for the road Texas wants to be on.
Texas hasn't seen a race like this in decades.
I'm not running against anyone, not running against another party. I'm running for this country.
Republican Ted Cruz asking Texas voters for 6 more years in the Senate. Beto O'Rourke hoping to be the state's first Democratic senator in 25 years. Now, live from San Antonio, both candidates face to face in the Texas debate.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Sarah Fergani, news anchor at KENS 5 in San Antonio.
And I'm Jason Whiteley, political reporter and host of Inside Texas Politics at WFAA in Dallas-Fort Worth. We welcome our viewers from across the state watching this debate live tonight in all corners of Texas. So let's get right to it. Back here, let me ask you the next question, though, Senator. Weber Shandwick did a poll this year with almost 70% of Americans saying civility is a major problem in America. Yeah. Let's talk about the tone of this campaign and what's happened here in the last half hour, 45 minutes. We all watched as activists chased you and your wife Heidi out of the restaurant in D.C. And then, Senator, some say you couldn't even give a political-free compliment to your opponent in the first debate in Dallas. So the question is, what responsibility do you have to bring civility and respect back to the country?
Listen, Jason, I think every one of us has a responsibility to bring civility and respect. That's something I've endeavored to do throughout politics, is to focus on substance, to focus on issues, to focus on record. And so the personal attacks, the going to the gutter that is so common in politics, I try not to engage in. If you look at my disagreements with Congressman O'Rourke, they haven't been personal attacks. They've been his voting record in Congress that has been markedly out of step with the people of Texas. You are right that there is a loss of civility, there is an anger, there is a rage on the far left that is really frightening. You know, the images hold on, let me answer with it. Don't interrupt me, Jason. The images of a left-wing mob beating on the doors of the Supreme Court. But it was important that he be treated with respect as well, and he was not.
Senator, that is your time. Congressman O'Rourke, 90 seconds for a response.
Every year, Allegheny College presents an award for civility in American politics. One of the first years, it was awarded to Senator John McCain and Vice President Biden. Another year, it was awarded to the family of the late Justice Antonin Scalia and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And last year, I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, to receive that award along with Will Hurd.
That is your time. Mr. Cruz, in your 60-second rebuttal, I was going to ask you, doesn't the inflammatory rhetoric just exacerbate the situation?
Absolutely. I think we should focus on substance and not inflammatory rhetoric.
Good morning. Political candidates don't often want to appear together on television. This morning, two of them are in what many say will be a close race. We're talking about State Senate District number 10. This one often swings from Democrat to Republican. It's Fort Worth, Arlington, all the way up to South Lake.
Before we get away from this, both of you, Connie, you said that the spending on schools has gone up, but really it hasn't kept up with population and inflation.
Oh, yes, it has. Right? Yes, it has. Yes, okay. $4 billion additional dollars we put into education. But that is exactly population plus inflation.
Exactly population
inflation. Yes, that is correct. We put $4 billion new dollars into education, and we should, because it is, it is important. It is a core function of our state. And we should be putting those dollars in there. But I know everybody's getting their tax, papers right now, and it says it right on there. It's unbelievable that you're saying that the state has anything to do with local property taxes. You know good and well that y'all set those. It even says it on your property statements that you're getting. It says this is in no way the legislature. This is a local level issue.
Indeed, the local government set those, but they also rely on money from the state.
Absolutely.
Which school districts across the state, even the Legislative Budget Board, has said that the state legislature is allocating less money to local education.
Because the local levels are going up. That's how it works.
So I was interviewing Mike Collier, who's running for lieutenant governor, and he says
the owners of large commercial and industrial properties are underpaying their taxes by $5 billion, and everyone knows about it.
At a time when many Texans are paying more property taxes than ever, Collier is saying big companies are underpaying their property taxes by $5 billion. Is that true? I'm in Hood County, and there's a brand new power plant here. Exelon Power told the county what it spent to build the plant, and so the county set the plant's taxable value at $436 million. But the owner then said that was too high, that the plant was not as profitable as predicted. It filed a lawsuit against the county and succeeded in knocking the value down by $86 million.
I mean, I want every business in the county to be successful. I just don't want them to be successful at the expense of the citizens.
Daryl Cockrum is the county judge, and he's telling me one way or the other, the county has to meet its budget. So a lower value at the plant forced him to raise taxes on homeowners.
So are you saying when the power plant got its taxes reduced, the taxpayers all chipped in a little bit more?
Exactly.
Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair.
So I started looking around and I found more large properties lowering their taxable value. Southwest Airlines protested its value this year and ended up with a $66 million reduction in the assessed value of its headquarters. In Austin, the owner of the Circuit of America's racetrack settled out of court, cutting $180 million of value. And in 2015, the nuclear power plant in Somervell County, Comanche Peak, cut $611 million in value with a lawsuit that settled out of court. The owner, Luminant, says profits were way down and the plant was now worth less.
If you need to pay for police and fire, or you need to pay for schools, and somebody has to do it, it ends up being the homeowners.
I'm talking to Dick Levine. He's an advocate for property tax reform. And he's telling me more about these lawsuits that I found where corporations sue counties. He says if a county loses one of those suits, it has to pay the company's legal fees.
What happens if you go up against the owner of a nuclear power plant and you lose? What's the downside risk for the county?
Well, instead of going to court, they'll say, okay, we'll settle and we'll reduce your appraisal, because they can't afford to go to court and lose. But what that means is they're settling for what they know is less than the real market value, because the property owner has them over a barrel.
Take Dallas County, for example. Last year, it was sued 2,400 times by commercial property owners. 0 cases went to trial. The county says it could not afford to lose and pay the other side's legal fees.
So I'm in Texas City now because there are tons of refineries here and they are getting their taxes lower and lower and lower. The thing is, the school district says it's taken the brunt of this.
We lost 3 campuses in Harvey, so now our high school kids are in the first floor of the high school. Our middle school kids are in the second floor of the high school.
I'm talking to Dr. Rodney Cavness, the superintendent. He's telling me homeowners here are already taxed at the highest level allowed by law. One of the biggest taxpayers in town is the Valero refinery. Through a lawsuit, Valero challenged 4 years of taxes it had already paid and won. Texas City ISD had to pay Valero back. The state reimbursed the district over the course of a year.
We had about a $9.5 million budget deficit, and we wrote Valero a check for $8 million.
Why did you write Valero a check for $8 million?
They contested their values from 15, 16.
When you have to write a check back for $8 million, what does that do to education, to the school district?
That takes $8 million out of the bank for us. And $8 million, that's almost 10% of our budget.
Valero declined to comment for this story. Everyone has the right to challenge their property taxes. It's just that in Texas, there's a state law that really helps big corporations. It's written by this guy.
This may not be popular, but I don't think the property tax system is broken.
Tax attorney Jim Popp, who helps large properties challenge their valuations.
Is not a process that was made out of thin air when I wrote it. It's based upon perhaps 100 years of appraisal methodology.
If you've ever challenged your own taxes, you might remember that the taxable value of your house is based on what similar homes in your neighborhood are selling for. Popp's law introduced another method. It's called median value, which means in the middle. So imagine you just bought a shopping mall for $100 million, but other comparable malls are taxed at a value of $60 million. It's only fair that the value of your $100 million mall should come down.
You compare yours to the other two. If they are identical, then you should pay on $60 million.
Even if you just paid $100 million?
Even if you just paid $100 million.
Popp says it's a fair way for commercial properties to pay what they owe, but not more.
We're not lowering its taxable value, we're finding the correct taxable value.
Okay, well, whatever you're finding, it just means that someone else
has
to pay more.
It's lower than it was before.
Someone's got to pay more.
They do. That is how the process works.
So back to candidate Mike Collier and his statement that commercial properties are underpaying their taxes by $5 billion. He says he bases that on projections he made from a 2006 report that estimated the loss of tax value to large counties in Texas. However, Collier was unable to provide us with that report. Still, after looking into this myself, I can verify that the appraisal process in Texas can drag down commercial values, shrink the tax base, and force homeowners to pay more taxes. If you've got something you want verified, send me an email.
This one is the 36, and that's 1 East. Jeff Hamrick over here. The house next to it, they've been here a long time.
After a half-century at the same address,
They haven't been here that terribly long.
neighbors come and go.
They come and go there, too.
But street numbers,
Jackie and Sherry, yeah.
those always stay the same.
3539 Casa Ridge and 3528 Casa Ridge. Do those exist?
No.
How long have you lived here?
52 years.
So why then would Justice of the Peace Brian Hutchison say he talked to voters at both of those addresses and got them to sign his petition to get on the ballot to run for re-election?
Is this your name?
Definitely not, no.
Is this your address?
That is my address.
Hutchison is a Republican running for a second term as Dallas County Justice of the Peace for Precinct 2. We took a closer look at other signatures he swears he collected himself and discovered even more discrepancies. Hutchison's petition lists Marco Alvarado at 131 Danbury in Mesquite, but that's Manuel Diaz's place.
Have you ever heard of this person?
Never in my life.
Have they ever lived here?
Nope.
That you know of?
That I know of, no.
394 Acres Drive in Balch Springs is another address that Hutchison has listed. The street exists, the address does not. And one signer on his petition has a birthday in 2008, making her 10 years old, ineligible to vote.
Somebody had to make that up because it's half of the information's correct, but the other half is not true.
Manuel Diaz, though, recognized something else just before our interview was over.
When I was looking at this and then I saw my mom's name, what? And then I saw his name.
And then Kimberly.
And then my cousin Brenda, and I'm like, what?
Is this the address? Is this the address for any of them?
No, because they don't even live here.
They don't live in any of these addresses.
My mom lives here, but
she lives in Garland.
Yeah.
But the rest of them live in El Paso. One of them lives in El Salvador.
All those names above and below his address are his Facebook friends. Brenda Rocha, Kimberly Varela, a couple of them are even teenagers, he says.
Stephanie?
Stephanie, yeah, she's my cousin. She's here.
She's in your Facebook also?
Stephanie.
She lives in El Paso too.
Right.
Looks suspect. A lot of the signatures look the same. The interesting thing is that not one of them has a voter registration number.
That's Ed Valentine, a political strategist who tracks fraudulent activity. The problem with these petitions, he says, is they're done on the honor system. No one really checks to see if the candidates got real people to put them on the ballot.
You know, we've looked up a couple names, and on the voter file, I don't even see that they exist in Dallas County.
You know, it is a lot of hard work. I mean, it took me about 5 to 6 weeks to get signatures, and you want to get more.
Margaret O'Brien is a Democrat running for the position. She sued Hutchison, arguing that he doesn't have enough valid signatures to remain on the ballot.
I mean, it's outrageous, actually, that somebody that holds a public office would do something like that. People should be upset about it.
Hutchison would not appear on camera, asking his attorney to answer our questions instead.
We'll have to look at what happened. Did we have a volunteer? And again, I'm taking a devil's advocate position that you're correct. Was there a volunteer that became over enthusiastic and for whatever reason?
But this is his name. This is Brian Hutchison who actually did this.
Okay.
Actually circulated this one.
Okay.
This is the candidate himself.
Okay. Again, I'll have to be looking at that.
Ken Emanuelson told us it doesn't matter because Hutchison has enough valid signatures to keep him in the race.
Question that is going to be before the court is, did the applicant have the sufficient number of signatures under the law? And the answer is yes.
And there's a question before voters too, though, Ken, on whether this is done with integrity and with honesty. Mm-hmm. And that's a question that I'm trying to get an answer to.
Yes. Well, if there are mistakes in that, that's something that we're going to be answering for.
Legal experts say faking names on these petitions could be a crime, perhaps forgery, though Hutchison has not admitted he did anything wrong. Jason Whiteley, Channel 8 News. Welcome to WFAA's coverage of the 2018 midterm elections. We have a full studio here tonight at Victory Park, and for the next 2.5 hours, we'll be updating you with results from all the hot Texas races. And at the top of that list, the Senate race between Republican Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke. This will be an unscripted program. Several times during it, though, we'll actually be broadcasting online and on television, so we'll pause just for a moment to welcome that larger TV audience, too. We have a team of people to break down these races. They're on our social media listening team here, listening to your comments and answering your questions as well. We've also invited a group of political analysts in here to offer perspective and context, and there are voters in studio as well, talking about how the results from these races tonight might impact their lives in the weeks and months and years to come. Talking to the Cruz campaign earlier today, they were telling me that we really have to have great turnout on Election Day, and we just haven't seen that statewide. Dallas County, it wasn't anywhere near what we saw earlier. The same was in.
What are we seeing in El Paso?
This is David Goins. David, grab your mic there and come on in.
Yes, bring a mic with you.
Bottom line is, to finish that conversation, is that we haven't seen huge early Election Day totals. People didn't show up for Election Day like they showed up for early voting, and the Cruz campaign was counting on people showing up on Election Day to help give him the boost he needed to beat Beto O'Rourke. David, what are you seeing?
All right, El Paso County. This is from the El Paso County Elections website. The early vote total is in Beto O'Rourke leading Cruz 74% to 25%.
What was the key issue that drove your vote in this election?
Healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay.
And civility.
Healthcare and civility from Caesar. Let's hear from Kimberly here.
Education and civility.
Say it loud! Say it clear! Immigrants are welcome here!
No one expected this many marchers.
I'm mad. I'm ashamed. I'm terribly ashamed.
This is not okay!
Nor the anger over children separated from parents that drove so many to the streets.
You sound pretty upset being out here. Everybody is very upset. Everybody's outraged. This was the last straw.
Just before lunch in El Paso on Tuesday, as the temperature approached triple digits, a crowd of 50 grew to 500. Protesters marching more than a mile to a U.S. Customs and Border Patrol facility.
We're closing the detention center today, symbolically.
Homeland Security has so far separated 2,000 children from their parents. Moms and dads who entered the U.S. illegally now going to jail. Almost 100 of those kids kept here in Tornillo, east of El Paso, and centers could open in Dallas, the administration told us, if families keep coming. President Trump meeting with congressional leaders this afternoon looking for a solution. But the White House told us zero tolerance. What these people oppose will not revert back to catch and release.
It's the wrong approach that he's taking.
And that is the message they hope their march sends.
I think we need one just as a physical barrier. I mean, just having laws on the books isn't going to do the job. It's pretty formidable. I mean, nobody's going to compromise it very easily. Or it would take great effort.
Or a ladder.
A very large ladder and some teamwork.
My name is David Schechter. I'm a veteran reporter, and now I work for you. I'm taking real people out on the road to get their questions answered, and you're coming along for the ride. This is Verify Road Trip.
We are going to build the wall.
He's been saying it since the campaign, and now President Donald Trump is asking Congress for $23 billion to finish the wall with Mexico and improve border security.
This is Machu Picchu when we were doing a cleft palate and cleft lip repair.
Sherman Powers is a registered nurse, a world traveler, and a Trump voter. He supports the wall.
I think for the greater good of the nation that we should complete the project and just see where it takes us.
I'm taking Sherman to the Rio Grande Valley for a two-part Verify. He wants to know if the security provided by a wall is more important than the rights of landowners whose property is in the way.
I think it's wonderful. Pops out of nowhere whenever you first walk through the trees. Yeah, I know. Don't lean over.
This is the Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge. It's known for its world-class birdwatching and its endangered animals. We're talking to environmentalist Jim Chapman.
What's the importance of this place?
Well, the importance is this is 2,088 acres. It has, for its size, it has a wider variety of plants and animals than any other national wildlife refuge in all of North America.
Really? The U.S. and Mexico have a treaty preventing either side from building in the Rio Grande floodplain. So in some places, the wall has to be up to a mile north into Texas. That isolates tens of thousands of acres on the south side of the wall, including virtually all of the Santa Ana Refuge.
Now there will be gates, but when are they going to be open? When are they going to be closed? Who's going to have access?
So all this is going to be behind the gate?
Yeah, this is behind the wall now. So this will be in what people are calling no man's land.
Do you think that national security is more important than homeowner or landowner's rights?
I don't think it's an either or.
Okay.
I think you can do both. There are ground sensors, there's camera sensors, there's stuff that I'm sure you and I haven't even heard of.
Agreed.
That to me, refuge tracts should not have walls.
Especially these kinds of walls. Jim says they create a concrete cavern, and in a flood, animals can't get out.
So essentially all terrestrial animals are going to get drowned or washed downstream.
Oh my goodness.
How catastrophic would that be?
Oh, it would be biblical. I mean, think about it. I mean, nothing that couldn't fly would die. And there's no ark.
I know every square foot of this place. I really do. I mean, literally.
This is Bob Lucio. He ran the Fort Brown Golf Course in Brownsville. During the first phase of wall construction, there was uncertainty about the fate of his course because it would be on the south side of the wall.
It seems to me they wanted to create a buffer zone from the river to the fence or to the wall. It's becoming a no man's land, period.
So what happened to the business as a whole? Why did it cease to become a great golf course?
We saw a decline in customers.
Okay.
They kept on hearing that they were going to put gates at the entrance and that we're going to have limited access. When you do that, your clientele's not going to pay. They're not going to pay for anything like that.
In the end, the government did put up a fence, but it did not block access. Either way, Bob says, the damage was done.
Your customers just didn't come over here, stopped coming to you.
Yeah, they stopped. I had a lot of them that were members with us for years and years.
Bob went bankrupt, and around the same time, he lost his father, a World War II vet.
What are your feelings on the national government building a wall and exerting eminent domain in order to take that land?
I know how I feel about that. I feel that our individual rights, our liberties, are more important, and there should be a give and take on that. I said that, and my dad was still alive back then, and he said, I already sacrificed. You don't have to sacrifice something that has already been sacrificed.
Something out of his control, like as heavy as public perception these days, about the wall, crumbled his dream slowly but surely.
La Lomita Chapel was built in the Civil War era, and it's still in use today. Current plans would put it on the south side of the wall.
Hi, David. How are you?
Father Roy Snipes is the priest here. He says he occasionally finds illegal immigrant kids sleeping inside and brings them food and water.
It has never occurred to anybody that we need to hide behind a wall until now. But the people who are saying we need to hide behind a wall are not the people that live here. There are people up north. They say, you need to hide behind the wall. I say, well, why don't you hide behind the wall? I don't need to hide behind a wall. Build your own damn wall. You know?
Just north of the chapel is this little levee road. That's where the wall would go, separating La Lomita from the rest of Mission, the town that bears its name.
No one has called and said, we know you're the pastor of the Guadalupe Church. We know that your Mission Church is going to be on the other side of the wall. We want to invite you to a meeting. Maybe that's still going to happen. I don't know. You'd think they would. I mean, you're going to wall our property off from us. It seemed like you'd say something to us. This is not Russia. You know?
But you know, something has to be done, and I don't think in this case it's a wall that separates a church from a city.
Sherman came into this very much in favor of the wall, but he's been hearing from a lot of folks who are against it. So on the next Verify, we'll meet some of the people who say the wall we already have is working.
Looks like a good 600, 700-pound load. So what this wall has done, it's stopped their movements. So now they have to scale the wall, which buys the agents time.
And people talk about the wall don't work. They don't know anything about whether the wall works or not. But I'll tell you it works.
So when it comes to national security, is it more important than landowner rights?
That's next time on Verify.